Cricket is a sport that gets very little trading coverage on YouTube. When you see the numbers involved, you have to ask yourself why. It is by far the biggest sport traded on Betfair, with tens of millions of pounds traded on the big games. The recent England versus India test match had over 120 million traded on it. So the question needs to be asked, why aren't there any decent cricket trading videos on YouTube? Well, that is until now. We are going to cover this match and discuss some of the opportunities there are to profit. By the end of this video, any budding cricket trader will see why they need CGMBet. If that sounds strange that a cricket trader needs a dedicated football analysis tool, then all will become clear. If you want to purchase CGMBet, you can now do so from our own link. This will get you a significant discount off the current list price of the software. Just go to the link on the screen and also in the description of this video or the links section from our YouTube homepage to make your purchase and join many other users of this excellent betting and trading tool. Purchasing CGMBet also gives you access to many free Lessons in Logic software applications, such as the Power BI dashboards, the Lessons in Logic simulator and the Lessons in Logic market data viewer. So with England leading the series 2-1, there was all to play for going into this match. The toss was deemed as crucial to this game, as with a fresh wicket, bowling first was the only option. England duly won the toss and elected to bowl. This is the first opportunity in test match trading in particular. The odds can move several ticks at the toss, so you can net yourself a nice profit even before a ball has been bowled. We'll demonstrate this with our own market data viewer tool. We've demonstrated this recently with football and briefly with cricket, but now we'll go deeper into how a cricket trader can use it. So we've loaded in the Betfair historical data, which gives us access to live odds as they were at the time the game was played. So we can see we've got all of the markets in here that were on the Betfair exchange during the game. But the one we're most interested in is the main market and the match odds. So initially we get the in-play data here, but obviously for the toss, then we need to look at the pre-match data. And the game began on the 31st of July. So the toss takes place at 10:30, which is 9:30 in our data because this is still GMT rather than BST, which is something I'll keep saying I'll need to fix and still haven't done it. So 9:30 is the toss in this data. So if we look at the odds at 9:30, and we'll take these up to the start of play at 11 o'clock, which is obviously 10 o'clock GMT. And what we will do is we'll look at just the England and the India odds on the graph. And we'll enlarge that. So we can see here, England won the toss. So at 10:30 they were 270. The toss probably took place around at this time here, 10:32 BST. And we can see straight away that England came down to 254 after winning the toss. And they even came down to 250. And just before the play, they were still around the 250 mark, 252. India, conversely, having lost the toss, went from 330 up to 360, 365, and out to 375 15 minutes before the play started, coming back into 360 when the first ball was bowled. So what we can see is if we'd have placed a back bet on England at 272, which was when the toss took place, and the closing odds we cashed out at 250, which is as low as they got, with a 2% commission and a £10 stake, you can see here we would have made 86p, which although it doesn't sound a lot, is 8.6% profit. Obviously, if you've done £100, you made £8.60 profit, so it's obviously scalable. And this is a profit even before the first ball of the match is bowled. Knowing how the toss affects the odds, and this game in particular, it affected the odds because of the overhead conditions. Some games the toss isn't as important, so it's important for you to know the geography of the ground and the weather forecast prior to the game, how those components will affect the odds at the toss. So related to that, another key strategy that cricket traders use is lay the draw. Now, unlike football, this is usually done at the start of the test match. So the odds at the start for the draw were 2.98, which is extremely low. Normally these are around the 5, 6, 7 mark at the start. This is down to the weather that was around at the time of the game. Showers were forecast and interruptions were seen as inevitable. So reading the weather forecast, as I've said before, is crucial to see when the rain is likely. So a quick lay at the start of the game would be sensible if there was no rain during the first hours. And from memory, the first delay came just before lunch. You can confirm that with the excellent ESPN Cricinfo site. So we can see here that the ground was actually wet at the start of the game, and rain came after 23 overs at 72 for 2, at which point lunch was taken. So we've almost got the first session in. And as we can see from the graph, again, which makes it slightly bigger, then we can see the draw started at 2.98 and it meandered around for a while. The first wicket went 16 minutes into the day's play, and the draw odds have gone out. Wickets are great for labour draw. You can see, obviously, a test match, you've got to take typically 40 wickets. So as wickets fall, the likelihood of a draw decreases. And up here as well, that's the second wicket going. And then we have this rain delay here, 10 minutes before lunch. And then the odds drop, and then they kind of meander around for the next 10 minutes until lunch. So looking back at the ESPN Cricinfo site, after lunch, then the game didn't continue due to the wet ground and the rain, and the delay has affected the odds of the draw once more. So as we can see here, from the start of lunch, going up to 250, then over lunch the odds would have just meandered around. When it became apparent there'd be no play directly after lunch, then we can see the price of the draw has come in to 2.4 there, and down to 2.3, 2.28 was the lowest it got down here. So again, knowing what the weather forecast is, you could have been ahead of the game here if you'd have backed the draw over lunch, odds of around 3, and then you got them down to about 2.3 down here. So again, some nice tidy profit in there. So moving to day 2 of this match, we can see that India were 204 for 6 overnight, but collapsed dramatically to 224 all out, so 20 runs for the last 4 wickets. And the first 45 minutes of play show how England's odds dropped dramatically. So from 2.16 at the start of play, they got up as high as 232, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 wickets fell very quickly, and England were in at 152. And then for the next 10 minutes or so for the innings break, they kind of plateaued around the 150 mark. The Indian odds went from being 325 all the way up to 5.30, so a massive shift out there in 45 minutes. And the draw was gone out from 4.4 at this time, and it's gone right up to 9.6, coming back down to 6.8 at the start of the England innings. So you can see here, by using this tool, it's identifying opportunities where particular characteristics, which happen in every cricket match, wickets are taken, collapses happen, partnerships are made, and we can see the effect that this is having on the odds. Now, the England batsmen went rather wild with their straight playing, so they really got the upper hand at this point. So we can see here that when England did come into bat, obviously that's the 150s we've just seen, but they scored at a rate of knots, and we can see that they go right down here to 134, and even when the wicket fell just before lunch, then it went up to 142. Such was their dominance of this early session. And at this point, the Indian odds pretty much fell off a cliff. So starting the day just over 3, they went up as high as 9.6, back down into 6.8 once the wicket fell, and then they were on the way out again at the lunch period. If you didn't fancy India at the start of this day, then a lay would have made you significant profits. Now, the beauty about cricket is it is up and down, and it's very rare that one team has the upper hand for the entire match. So we can see at lunch here, England were 109 for 1, but by tea, they were 215 for 7. Even that collapse has taken England from 133 up to 162, so they're still strong favourites, even though they've collapsed, and at this point they're still 9 runs behind the Indian score with an injured batsman, so that 7 wickets is actually turned out to be 8 because Wokes didn't bat. And obviously the Indian odds, so we're up to 10.5 there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but less than an hour and a half later they're in at 3.50, so again, massive swings here. If you could predict that swing down to there and then back up again, then you'd be a very rich person due to the amount of money that potentially you could put on this market. So we'll now fast forward to the middle of day 4. So England were in a real struggle at 10 past 12, going out to 4.60, which is when Root and Brooke came together. And you can see for the next few hours, so that's 1:40, so that's straight after lunch, this partnership was flourishing, and England actually came in all the way tea time at 3:38. England were actually 102 to win, still needing 70 runs to actually complete the job, so it wasn't a certainty by any stretch of the imagination. So that would be the perfect time to lay at 102, still needing 70 runs. although England were actually coasting at that moment in time. In fact, even later than that, at nearly 5 o'clock, England were actually 101, almost certainties to win. But then India fought back with a couple of wickets, Joe Root being the key one. And you can see there England were out at 140 and then ended the day at 129, which is still obviously a short price, and they were expected to win. Again, we can see here the amounts of trading opportunities that this game provided was phenomenal. There was never a session where you wouldn't have, if you could read the game, and obviously this data is helping you read how a test match potentially can go. You can make some serious money out of it. So moving on to the final day of this match, which obviously, for those of you who know your cricket, only lasted an hour. So we can see at the start of play, England were 1.16, India was 7.80, and the draw was well out as 100 here. The only chance we were going to get a draw was if it rained all day, which was not forecast. We'll select all of it by the last minute because that's going to skew the graphs, and we'll put both teams on together. And we can see how this meandered. So we can see India going up to 13 a minute into the day. The first 2 balls of the day went for 4, meaning England needed, I think it was 27 to win, with 4 wickets. So in all fairness, England should have walked this game at this point. But we see here, India took a wicket and there were still odds of 10 at that point. And then they took another one and they came back into 4. So from being at 13 at 1 minute past 11, just 18 minutes later, they'd actually come in to be favourites of the game. And England never really recovered from that point. They got close here, only to lose another wicket, and that's pushed them further out again. And Chris Woakes obviously came in, and they didn't have to face a ball, thankfully. And it was getting close at that point, but India sealed the deal with a 6-run win. We can break all of these down into smaller sections. So if we wanted the first 10 minutes of the day, then we can see here that obviously England, after 10 minutes of the day, were sitting fairly pretty. They'd lost a wicket at that point, but they'd still got 3 left and were getting closer to victory. But it's really, I think the next 10 minutes is the one where it kind of got away from England, and we can see that this is where the favouritism of the game changed. And England went from being favourites at 1:56 to 10 minutes later being outsiders at 2:36, and the pressure at that point got too much, and in India sealed the deal. It was a fantastic match to watch. Even if you're not a cricket fan, you'd have been glued to this one. So hopefully this video has shown how the Lessons in Logic Market Data Viewer can show you how to read potential cricket matches and opportunities to profit from trades. We've seen how the labour draw works, we've seen how the toss works, and we've also seen the dynamics of what wickets and partnerships do during the longer format of the game. Games like the T20s, the 100 and even the 50 over game, then these movements are more severe. So a wicket in a shorter form of the game can give it a massive swing in the odds. And likewise, 6s and 4s can also push the odds the other way. So they're a bit more volatile. Test cricket is a little bit more steady. And if you want to get involved in cricket trading, I would suggest doing test cricket as your first port of call, because it is a lot slower and your mistakes are not punished as severely in most cases. So without this data, you'd really be guessing about how the game has gone and what effect the wickets and the weather has on the game. So the only way to get hold of this software is to purchase CGMBet. So if you are a cricket trader who would like to use the market data viewer, or a football trader who wants to understand the cricket market, there's no better time to purchase CGMBet. And if you use my link below, you'll bag yourself a nice discount too. If you've enjoyed this video, please give us a like and subscribe so we can grow the channel further and spread the word about CGMBet and Lessons in Logic software. Feel free to comment too. Have you tried cricket trading? And if so, how did you get on? Thanks for watching.